2, 1. We are live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Winchop. How are you today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right, I'm joining you live from Monterey, California for the Monterey Car Week. I actually just came back from the Quell today. My first time. Did you ever go to the Monterey Car Week, Seth?
Nope. Love to.
All right. Interesting experience. It's a lot of rich people.
A lot of money there. Yep.
A lot of money there. I don't feel at home whatsoever. It's cool. I saw a lot of great cars, but at the Quell today said, I was like looking forward, literally like, what can I report on at this place? And nothing. I mean, there was.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about the Acura NSX. NSX. Oh shit. That's not that. We should change the. It's the RSX, not the NSX. That's my bad. I just realized this on this post because I've been seeing NSX nonstop all week. So they have a bunch of NSX, including some nice older ones like 90s NSX all around the resort here where we are. Because Acura brought me here to check out the new RSX prototype that he unveiled, which is an electric vehicle. And then some people might know the RSX in North America as like the Integra back in the day before they relaunched it a few years ago. Now it's going to be an electric SUV.
So it's the RSX or the NSX?
RSX. NSX is the little like supercar that they have. But yeah, so they did unveil it at the Quell today, but they also unveiled it last night at a private event where we were at. So it's not like for me, it was not new. Like I reported on it earlier this week. Rivian was there, but Rivian didn't have anything new either. They had like this the car at the auction earlier this week that we talked about, but it wasn't even at the Quell today, so I didn't even check it out. Literally, there was like the concept from Cadillac that was unveiled a while ago that was electric. There was the Jaguar from the controversial rebrand. That's not a great looking car in person, honestly. Especially the interior looks ridiculous, and it looks extremely concept. Like it looks like nothing that's gonna make it to market. Honestly, the coolest thing that was there that was powered by batteries was the Joby eVTOL aircraft. I
nice.
thought that was pretty cool. So that was there, but it's like not. Other than that, said it was like it's pretty dry. But I was told so tomorrow I'm going to Laguna Seca. Mm-hmm. That's also not going to be electric probably, but not a lot of electric cars there. But then Sunday I'm going to the Concours d'Elegance, which is like the big show for the Pebble Beach for the car week, and I'm told there's going to be more electric vehicle there. I said when I was leaving today, like I needed, so I was just there for the morning, and then I had to go for the podcast because it's 1 p.m. here. Just I was leaving, I saw Franz von Halsen, the chief designer of Tesla. He was just coming in as I was leaving. As a visitor. Tesla was not there. There's just it's good for designers, I guess. It's a good show for designers because there's a lot of inspiration. Like you see a lot of like the most beautiful cars from the 60s, from the all the way up to the more recent supercars. So I think there's a lot of inspiration for designers. But unless you're like someone that really loves supercars or someone that was looking to spend a few $1 million on a vehicle, it's not the right place for the common mortals like you and I. It's just crazy stuff. But still, I appreciate Acura bringing me because and the RSX that we're going to talk about later. It looks like a promising vehicle, so we're gonna talk about that. But as usual, let's start with Tesla. Like since I've been traveling all week, there's not a lot of stuff to report. Not that there was a lot. Like I didn't leave a lot of things on the table either this week. Just not a lot of news that came out. But we have a little bit of update for all our Hardware 4 owners out there. We have a little bit more details because it's been dry all year. If you've been waiting for your FSD to improve, I mean, it's not the best year in 2025 because since the release, the wider release of V13, it's just a little bit of point updates, and even those point updates, if you rely on the crowdsourced data, it looks like it's declining miles between disengagement rather than improving. Elon has been hyping this new update that's coming up, and we talked about it a little bit a few weeks ago when he first mentioned it. So that's going to come in the next few months, and it's going to have 10 times the parameters. And we kind of try to manage people's expectation, because the last time he talked about a crazy increase in parameters, it didn't actually result in that big of an improvement. So we can expect about, I would say, like a 2 times increase in miles between disengagement, which is great, by the way. I'm not anyone achieving that is a good thing. It's just nowhere near unsupervised self-driving, and that's what we learned now this week, because Elon released a little bit more details. First of all, a little bit more precise timing. First of all, it's going to be called FSD 14, unsurprisingly. So it's the next full update, and it's going to have the exact quote is, "The car will nag you much less." So he's not promising unsupervised self-driving or anything like that. He's promising less nag, which doesn't mean much, obviously, because the nag part of it, already, if you're using autopilot full self-driving correctly, which means you're looking at the road, you should not have any nag right now. I don't get any nag unless I'm getting distracted. And I want the nag if I'm getting distracted, because you should be paying attention to the road here. So I don't like this the way Elon is. I mean, we've been quite clear about that we don't like Tesla's approach to full self-driving for a while now, and selling a feature that doesn't exist is just not good policy for any company, especially when safety is involved. But this idea now that we were promised unsupervised self-driving, and now what we're getting is just less nag, it's not it. Like, I don't know what they're talking about. We also get a little bit better timing. It's he said about 6 weeks out, so it should end up around second half of September. End of September, we should see that update. But the other thing that I'm concerned about with this is, like, all right, so we're gonna get FSD V14 around the end of Q3, and we're supposed to get unsupervised self-driving in consumer vehicle by the end of the year. So it took Tesla almost a year to go from V13 to V14, and I expect about the 2x improvement in miles between disengagement, which again is good, but it still brings you to about 1,000 miles between disengagement, which is critical disengagement, I should say, which is still nowhere near where you have to be to have an unsupervised self-driving system. So how do we go from that to, let's say, a V15 that has unsupervised self-driving? I just don't see that happening. But who knows? All right. We also got a little bit more details on Dojo. Like, so last week we talked about Tesla killing Dojo. It was based on a Bloomberg report. So the Bloomberg report highlighted how about 20 Tesla Dojo, and for people who don't know, I've been following Dojo, is Tesla's supercomputer program. So Tesla developed chips for training compute. So that's Dojo. And chips for what people call inference compute, which is the hardware that actually runs the neural net rather than train them. So that's what it's in the products where you're running the neural nets, you're running the AI. In the case of Tesla, obviously that's the car. So it's what we know as hardware 4 right now, and that's what's going to be AI 5 apparently next year, and then after that AI 6 that's been talked about lately. But on the training compute side, Tesla has been building this giant supercomputer in Buffalo, New York, and this one was powered by chip designed by Tesla called the Dojo chip for the Dojo supercomputer platform. Tesla also has other supercomputers, like the one in Texas, where it's powered by NVIDIA chips, NVIDIA computers. And Tesla has been relying more on them lately, which led us to believe that maybe Dojo is not doing so well. And then the head of Dojo left 2 years ago to start his own startup, now that was revealed, Density AI, that aims to do something very similar to Dojo. And Bloomberg last week reported about 20 engineers left for that, leading Elon to cancel the program. And now even it was reported by Bloomberg that Pete Bannon, who's the head of all custom silicon at Tesla, which means both Dojo and the inference computer, AI 5, AI 6. He's the one who designed AI 4 too, or actually was lead design for that. Left the company also. So Elon, when the report came out last week, Elon did comment a little bit on it, but not in great details. But he now released a lot more details where he didn't really deny the Bloomberg report, but he pushed a different narrative. I'm going to read you the comment here. Once it became clear that all paths converged toward AI6, I had to shut down Dojo and made some tough personnel choices. As Dojo 2 was now an evolutionary dead end, Dojo 3 arguably lives on in the form of a large number of AI6 SoCs, a system on the chips, on a single board. So what he's saying here basically is that he saw the AI6 chip, which is something that's supposed to come in about 2 years. And when he saw that, he saw like it was so good that it didn't make sense to pursue Dojo anymore. But again, AI6 is inference compute. Dojo is training compute, which are originally very different chips. They most of the time they use different data. They have different bandwidth requirement. They have different energy efficiency requirement, because obviously the energy efficiency is very important if you're putting the chips inside a car that has limited energy capacity. So it's very, very different stuff. So right away, for me, I'm a little bit skeptical just for that. But then what really irks me with his comment is that I had to shut down Dojo and make some tough personal choices. So we don't know exactly who he's referring to there, but we know that Pete Bannon left Tesla around this time. That's what Bloomberg reported last week. Pete Bannon is in charge of all custom silicon at Tesla, AI6, which Elon appears extremely impressed by, and Dojo. So the narrative that Elon is that he saw AI6 so good that shut down Dojo, fire Bannon, and that's it. We don't need them anymore. We're just going to use AI6 and NVIDIA computers for training compute going forward. That doesn't make sense, because Pete Bannon would be in charge of AI6 also. So you wouldn't fire the guy that just delivered you the chip that's so impressive to you. So I think this is, it won't be surprising for people that have been following the podcast for a while, but I think this is Elon being misleading, even to the degree of lying, I would agree. And he's trying to reframe the narrative, because just a few weeks prior to that, he was praising Dojo, saying that Dojo was so important, and now he shuts it down. So I think that's more like a saving face kind of narrative that he just switched, where he's like, okay, I cannot be praising Dojo and then shutting down the program a few weeks later. So instead, I'm gonna introduce this narrative that I was just introduced to the AI6 chip. I'm like, that's all we need. Let's just focus on that instead, and dump Dojo. It's what we call a spin in the business. So, and Elon is a master at it. All right, moving on from the, go ahead, Sid.
So what is going to become of the whole Dojo? Like, is it just being disbanded? The hardware is...
I'm sure that Tesla can use the existing cluster that they have with the Dojo. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're gonna make the Dojo 2 fully. Like last month, Elon said that Dojo would come online. Dojo 2, would come online next year. So I don't know if that program it's still on, and they're gonna make another cluster with Dojo 2, or if they're just gonna go NVIDIA. But from what I hear, is like most of the core team has moved on from Tesla. Some of them their own willing, other let go. Some of the rest of the team has been moved to other programs at Tesla, and now Tesla's going to rely more on NVIDIA and other suppliers for the training compute, and continue the focusing on inference compute instead. But like I said, some of the staff that were, it's not clear if Bannon was let go or left of his own. Elon is implying that he was let go, but again, what Elon says, I don't take it as gold. So yeah, I think Tesla's going to have to focus more on inference compute rather than training compute, which makes sense. As an automaker, like this is your product is what you sell to customers, rather than the training. There's companies that focus solely on making compute power for training neural nets. So I think that makes sense. All right, Ford had a big unveiling this week. We had Jeff Benjamin that went there in Louisville, Kentucky. So there was a. They tried to frame it as a Model T moment, but I don't think that everyone agrees with that. Everyone was super impressed by that because there's a promising stuff in there, but it's that right now. It's promises more than delivering for now. So it's the new universal electric vehicle platform. That's what they're calling it, Ford. So it's going to be the platform that's going to support the next generation electric vehicle from Ford, starting with a mid-size pickup truck. We did learn a little bit more about this pickup truck, which is probably the most exciting part of this. It's they're talking about more interior space than a RAV4, a full-size bed, a frunk. So now these things are exciting, like a decent range. They didn't go into the specs yet. They didn't unveil anything, even though we did share some images in the last few weeks of prototypes of a truck that could be it. But yeah, so the goal here is they make it clear. It's like we have to compete with China. China is making a lot cheaper electric vehicles. A lot of it, honestly, sounded a lot like what Tesla announced with the unbox system. So I think Jeff shared this image here. So instead of the straight assembly line, now you have more like a three-shape assembly line that merge into one. This sounds a lot like what Tesla announced with the unbox system.
Yeah, you know what? I would say it's very similar to GM's Ultium as well. Like from a we're gonna consolidate, we're gonna make one program. So
yeah, you see a trend. There's a trend in the industry.
Yeah.
But when I compare to Tesla, they also announced like a structural battery pack design. So that's also something that Tesla pushed. But to be fair, Tesla pushed that, but then they didn't go full. They didn't completely go with that design. It's not fully adopted just yet, and other automakers in China are doing it too. So it's something that's getting into the broader EV sector. So yeah, I mean, at least I didn't watch the presentation. I think I'm going just off of what Jeff Benjamin wrote here, but didn't sound like there was that much like nitty-gritty details about what's coming up. It's more about the platform that is going to support future electric vehicle. They talk about using prismatic LiFePO LFP cells. So it's those that's going to be produced by Ford at the Blue Oval. They think that the assembly process is going to be up to 40% faster. So that would be a big step change. And obviously the goal is to achieve like $30,000 EVs. One thing that I'm getting a little bit confused now, I don't know if it's me getting confused or if it's, it's on purpose that's confusing, or if but it's the, people are taking the $30,000 headline and matching it to the midsize SUV, electric SUV.
Right.
And I'm not sure that's how it's meant to be. I think the platform is going to enable $30,000 EVs, and the first vehicle on the platform is going to be the midsize electric SUV. But
right.
I mean, do you expect them to coming up with like a midsize all electric SUV for $30,000? I don't think that makes sense, right?
Yeah, at least not. It's never the first car that stuff comes off the assembly line. That's the low price one. Speaking of that, Chevy now sells the Equinox. I think it starts at like 32,000. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's
the
not
Bolt's going to be coming out.
Yeah, the $30,000 EV. It's not that far fetched as it used to be. In Europe, there's already some example of that. Plenty of example of that actually. In China, there's a ton of example of that. So I think it's more like American automakers making $30,000 EVs, and then you can make the argument that Tesla is also there too if you take the incentive, but incentives are going away. And I guess I didn't put that in there because I actually wrote the article after writing the podcast post, but I can pull it up here. But officially now so that's not the tax credit, the $7,500 tax credit, but that is going away at the end of the quarter, and it's going to be probably the most impactful thing on the EV sector from the big beautiful bill. But the other thing that's going to be very impactful is the cafe credits going away, and that's now officially done because we just learned today that NHTSA has stopped sending compliance letters to automakers that don't comply to the cafe credit. And that what that means is that the compliance letter was the enforcement of the cafe standards, which for the people that don't know, the cafe standards are the fuel efficiency requirements. So automakers that sells cars into the US had to achieve a certain level of efficiency, and if they didn't, they would receive a compliance letter with fines that would come with it, unless they would compensate with credits. And those who would have credits would be automakers that have surplus, and the surplus comes from selling more electric vehicles. So companies like Tesla, Rivian, and Lucid that only sells electric vehicles would have a surplus, and they could make deals with those automakers. It's like, all right, you have compliance letters saying that you're going to pay $200 million in fines for selling gas-guzzling vehicles in the US. I'm going to send you $150 million worth of credit instead, and you're going to save $50 million. So that was a way to encourage people to make more electric vehicles and benefit those that were early adopters in electric vehicle technology, like, again, Tesla, Rivian, Lucid, and all those, and some of their legacy automakers that are bigger with electric vehicles as well. But the mechanism to enforce that was the penalties for not achieving the standards, and that went through the compliance letter, and it's has confirmed that it stopped sending those now under the Trump administration. The way that they killed it is, if there's no penalties, we don't need to change the standard because we just killed the market for those credits. And so the Zero Emission Transportation Association, ZETA, it's an EV trade group, they filed a petition with the U.S. Courts of Appeal in Washington to force NHTSA to resume those letters. Oh, just lost one of my headphones. And in that petition, they had Rivian mentioning that they had deals to sell some of those credits, and now those deals are not being they cannot finalize them, they cannot get the money. So they use that as an example, and they mentioned having $100 million of lost revenue from that as of now. So that means that they have credits that they cannot sell already, and now they don't expect any more sales of credits through the end of the year. So and going forward, unless things change. But then NHTSA commented saying that NHTSA is focusing on fixing CAFE standards to make cars more affordable again. When that process is complete, we will return to issuing compliance letter to manufacturers. Now that doesn't mean much, honestly, because no one expect that to really happen under the Trump administration. So it's they basically saying that so the big beautiful bill, and like I said earlier, instead of changing the standards, they just remove the penalties. So now what NHTSA is saying is like, wait, we're stopping the compliance letter right now, which was part of the beautiful bill, but we're going to resume again once we change the standard, which means lowering them for the Trump administration. So they won't be, they could be compliance later, but I mean, depending on what are the actual new standards, we don't expect them to be, because there's no signal that way whatsoever. So yeah, it's basically done. And obviously the biggest loser in that is Tesla, ironically, because obviously Tesla's CEO kind of was a big part of the Trump administration happening again. And over the last year, over the last 4 quarters, over the last 12 months, Tesla reported $2.5 billion in revenue from regulatory credits. Now that's global regulatory credits. Tesla doesn't break it down per region. But we do estimate that roughly half of that comes from the U.S. sales. So yeah, it's gonna hurt Tesla pretty bad too. But Rivian, obviously, $100 million already lost. Lucid, sells a little bit fewer cars, so going to be less impactful, but still an impact. It's a sad day, honestly, because it was a direct transfer of money from companies that contribute to pollution, to climate change, to all that, towards companies that try to reduce that. So it's, for me, it's something that we've been pushing at Electrek for a long time. Like we're not the biggest fan of EV incentive, and like, you know, especially if it's like luxury cars and all that, it doesn't make that much sense. But it does make sense to. I'm a free market guy. I do agree with the free market, but the market needs to be efficient, and to be efficient, it needs to account for externalities. If you don't account for externalities, you're not really a free market, and there's a cost to those externalities. And one of them is air pollution. That's an undeniable one. You can be a climate change denier. I mean, you won't start your gas guzzling car inside your garage because it pollutes, and you're gonna die. And the same thing happens at the city scale. The same thing happens at the world scale, even though some people disagree. But you cannot disagree with air pollution in your city if you have a city that has that problem. So you need to account for that, because that has a financial impact, a health impact, an impact on your healthcare system, an impact on people who have asthma, all that. You need to account for that, and that was part of the. I think it was not even a full representation of that cost. Honestly, I think it should be way higher than that. But it was it was in the right direction, and now it's gone. And it's a sad day for the U.S., I think, and the world, really. And financially, sad day for Tesla, ironically.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to the podcast post where we were at. We're at BYD. Jesus. I mean, when I saw Xiaomi with the SU7, 1200 horsepower, I'm like, this is too much power for people. Like, it's just crazy. And now BYD is talking about 3000 horsepower on the hypercar. This is not saying. So this is the Wang and the Yang Wang. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. The Yang Wang U9. So Yang Wang is like the luxury brand for BYD. They have also like a nice
SUV,
like G-Wagon style SUV that they have under the brand. I think that's a U8, but the U9 is their hypercar, all electric beast. 0 to 62, 100 kilometers an hour in 2.36 seconds. That has that crazy electric air suspension that can like jump over potholes and all that. Just an insane car, and it already had 1300 horsepower in it. But now they are, based on a filing with the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology in China, they are releasing a track edition of the vehicle. So most company, when they release a track edition, like we've seen that with the Model S Plaid, we've seen that with the Porsche Taycan. It's mostly like a few body modification for aerodynamic performance, more downforce, things like that. Active aero maybe in the back, bigger brakes, things to make it like track performance out of it. Sometimes it's going to be powertrain improvement, but I mean, rarely. I can recall actually an example. Like the Taycan has no powertrain improvement in the track version, I think, the track package.
Yeah, I mean they have to keep it pretty similar to make it count as the Taycan or whatever.
Yeah, and it's a production car. Like it's a relatively high volume one. This is a much lower volume, but with the Wangyang U9, they went completely different. It's a brand new powertrain. It already had 4 electric motors, but now each of these motors are 555 kilowatts. So you have 555 kilowatts at the wheel. Each of them
wheel.
2,220 kilowatts total. So that apparently adds up to 3,019 horsepower. It sounds like a typo, but apparently not, because there's been already 2 filings with the MIT on that. Hasn't been fully revealed yet, unless something happened last few days and I haven't keep up with. Some of the changes with the track package on top of the crazy. I don't think they've changed the battery pack too, which is not. So that thing's you can get like 2 laps out of it after that you're done. But 20-inch wheels, carbon fiber roof. Large fixed carbon fiber rear wing, rear diffuser with adjustable blades for aerodynamic optimization. And then there's optional aerodynamic parts that you can get on top of that. That includes a standard or enhanced carbon fiber front splitter and electric rear wings. It's nuts.
I mean, when you think about, like, not only do you have to have, crazy motors at each wheel, but you also have a battery pack that can put out 3 megawatts. Like that's that's utility scale.
Yeah,
Like
that conductor between the battery pack and the motors, like it has to be.
It's gonna be like a big wire, like.
Yeah, if you could see it, like it probably like goes red, like just bright red, like the sun.
Yeah, but I mean, a car that's throwing out 3 megawatts, like how, or 2.2 megawatts, how long could it like? It's gonna go 0 to 60 in like a second. It's gonna go like it's gonna be going full speed, in like 3 seconds.
Traction is going to be the problem. Like it's not going to be the power. Yeah, like you're going to lose traction so fast. It's just insanity. So we should probably learn a little bit more about this, because when they filed it with the MIT, normally there's an unveiling that comes shortly after. So recently we had filings for the new Model 3 long range in China, and the Model Y L large one, the longer wheelbase one.
Right, now it's pretty quick after.
Yeah. All right, we have a few more news items we want to discuss, and then we're gonna have some time to talk to you guys. So I know we have our own Joe Boras in the chat right now. We have Carl, that's always there, faithful listeners. Dan is also there. So if you guys have any question, you can put them in the comment section right now, and I'll get to it in a few minutes. But let's talk a little bit about the RSX, reborn as a sleek electric SUV. So makes me think a little bit about the Mackie. So it's like a long-time brand of a company. It's I mean, the Mustang was a muscle car, but the Integra RSX was not really a muscle car, but like a sleek, sporty sedan. And now it's being released as a compact, no, not maybe compact, but coupe SUV. So we got to see the car for the first time this week. So this is it right there. A lot of people like to compare it to the Lotus Electrek. I do see some resemblance, honestly. The Acura is a new designer since last year. The longtime chief designer of Mazda has moved on to Acura, and this car looks really good. I'm really impressed by it. We have a few more pictures here. So this is still but there was. They call it a prototype rather than a concept, because there was a concept that was unveiled last year that was a little bit wilder. So this is still like concept-y a little bit, but it's a little bit tamer. And I talked to the designer last night, and he said that I asked him like, how close is this to the production version that's supposed to come next year? And he said pretty damn close. Like he looked at me, looked back at it, and like, damn close. I didn't want to put a percentage on it, but still. So but what's most exciting about this is the first all-electric vehicle coming out from Acura that is designed by Acura, that is that is using the Honda platform. So this is using the Honda's own platform. So it's going to be in North America, the first Acura electric built by Honda. It's going to be built at the new EV Hub in Ohio, second half of next year. We don't have that much specs. So but we do know that the Zero platform on which it's based on, designed by Honda, enables up to 300 miles of range, and so we think probably going to get around that for the RSX when it launches next year. A few details: it's going to be all-wheel drive, not too surprising there. They already talked about having. Well, not necessarily about vehicle to X, like the bidirectional charging, I should say. Like they are having bidirectional charging. They talked about being backup power for your home, and they talk about powering devices on the go. So maybe some kind of plugs in the back, things like that. That would be nice. Or otherwise, it's going to be some kind of adapters, like with Hyundai and Kia. They sell the adapters that then you can use as a plug. Not the biggest fan of that, honestly. I think you should just have some plugs in the back that you can use. But they want that to be standard on the vehicle. They talk about the best possible advanced driver assistance system, but they didn't want to go into too many details on that. We did talk about it. I talked to a few executives yesterday about it, and they said that they are aiming for automated lane changes, hands-free lane changes and all that. But they said it's going to be OTA after launch. So.
Yeah, I mean, Acura currently sells the ZDX, which is basically a Chevy Blazer with Acura badging. My neighbor got one of those, and he's like, doesn't feel like an Acura. So
Not surprised.
yeah,
It's
so I
really
think
not.
Acura's probably in a hurry to get their own stuff going on. Not that there's anything wrong with the Blazer, it's just not the same idea.
It's not your car. Like it's you're a lot more limited on what you can change.
Right.
Talk about sports tune double wishbone front suspension. They talk about Brembo brakes as standard on the vehicle, so that's nice. And the big kicker, like there was a bit of an awkward moment during the round table yesterday with executive, where one of the journalists asked them like, how are you going to differentiate the RSX from other SUV in the electric segment? Because it is, let's be honest, it is a crowded segment right now. Like you have the Mustang Mach-E, you have the Model Y, you have I mean, depending on how they get the Blazer, like you said, ZDX already there, though this is shorter a little bit than the ZDX, so it's closer to like a Model Y and all that. And there was a long pause, like they weren't sure like what's gonna differentiate them from that. But then one of the executives finally like step in, and they think that Asimo was gonna be the difference. So Asimo is Honda's new interface. And the RSX is going to be the first car to get it in production version. So we complain a lot at Electrek about legacy automakers and the interface that they have. It's not the best. I think we think that clearly the startups, the new automakers on that front have a lead. Like Rivian is doing well. Lucid is improved, has had some other issues, but they did improve a lot in the last few years. Obviously, Tesla, I think, is still the best in my opinion, even though I have some issues with some stagnation lately. But now a lot of the legacy automakers have taken notes, and they're like, all right, we need to address that. We're not just like, we don't just build engines anymore. We don't just build cars. We need to actually hone the whole experience inside, or offload it to Apple or Android, which others have done too, like the Polestars are doing with Androids and all that. Or Google, I should say. Maybe it's not Android Auto itself. But Honda is doing Asimo, and they're talking about some kind of like smartphone experience, or something a lot closer than you're used to with the interface in your tablets and your smartphone. They focused on personalization. So they say that the car is going to learn from you. There's going to be some machine learning, and it's going to learn about you and personalize the entire experience inside the vehicle through OTA updates. So your RSX is going to be unique to you through the Asimo interface is what I'm getting at. Which it sounds promising. I don't think it's anything like, especially from what I've seen in China. Honestly, like in China, they have a lot of that already. They're big on personalization. They're big on intelligent interfaces. So I think they're probably taking notes from that and trying to bring that to the North American market, which I appreciate. But yeah, the RSX fully unveiled today at the Quell too. If you're in Monterey right now, or Carmel Balasi, can stop by and check out the prototype. It looks better in person, to be honest. It's I took a bunch of pictures. I should have had them to the article. That's just the press pictures that I have here. All right, for two more news items to discuss, and then we jump into the comment section. So again, at the Pebble Beach at the Monterey Car Week, Lucid also unveiled a new concept. It's called the Lucid Gravity Cross. It's written X, but they pronounce it Cross, if I understand it correctly. And it's basically a trail off-road version, all-terrain version of the Gravity. I'm supposed to get a closer look to it Sunday, I think. So I'm going to have a little bit more to say about that. But just based on the press release, what has changed is obviously a lifted suspension, because the Gravity for an SUV is pretty damn low. So they tune the suspension differently, higher a base standard suspension to take off more different terrains. There's the nice little crossbar on the top with the roof rack and different. I think it's a roof box, really. A roof rack. What else? Integrated crossbar with LED lights and a roof box. Okay, there's a roof box too. What else? It's based on the Grand Touring. so which get 450 miles of range, 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. Then they have redesigned from you see the design of the front hand and the do we have a better look at the rear hand here? No, not really. I'm gonna get a much closer look on Sunday on this car, because they change a lot of the front end and the back end to have a better approach angle if you're getting like rock climbing and things like that with this. Obviously all-terrain tires. There's a new protective skid plates at the bottom. There's a toe hooks on it. There's a bunch of stuff to make this like more of an adventure vehicle. So kind of a little playing some Hellbow with Rivian there. But yeah, I'm gonna take a closer look to it. Some upgrades to the interior also. Try to get a video on this. Maybe talk to some of the designers if they can get me a walk around the car. I can bring that back to you guys.
So I forget. Are they going to make tons of these? Because I think it would sell quite well. Or are they just kind of like a one-off, like a Rivian thing?
From everything I heard so far, it's a one-off. But yeah, that's going to be my first question. Like, are they going to actually, are they thinking about it? I think there was, from what I've heard online so far, there's been a great reaction to it. So a lot of people say the same thing as you. It's like, oh, this could actually like be popular. I mean, the Gravity was already extremely well received too. So it would make sense to maybe offer that. So maybe with the reaction that people had, they decide to go with it. We'll see about that. Rivian, we heard that Rivian is working on steer-by-wire and rear-wheel steering. So that's I think that was two different things. I think it was a patent that pointed us to the steer-by-wire system that they were working on.
Both were. I think both were job.
Okay, both were jobs. Okay, so based on job application, Rivian is looking to introduce rear-wheel steering to its lineup, including and steer-by-wire. So two features that you find like in the Cybertruck, for example, and rear-wheel steering is popular in like GM products. Also, Mercedes has it. For a longer vehicle, it's a very useful feature. So they are hiring a senior staff technical program manager for steering actuator system, and it does mention SBW subsystem in that, which people thought that could mean the steer-by-wire, which makes sense. I'm curious about this. I mean, if they are hiring people to develop that right now, I wouldn't get like too excited about this coming soon. Like R2s, probably not. I would assume, right?
No, yeah, it'd probably be the next version of the R1s. I would imagine.
Yeah, and it would make sense to start with your higher hand lineup also. So yeah, maybe Gen 3 R1s get that, and then maybe Gen 2 R2s get it later. Maybe R3 or 3S. What's the little one? The R3S, right?
Yeah.
X?
Or X, R3X.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you don't really need it with a small car like that. I think it's more helpful on the bigger vehicles. But
the steer-by-wire would be fun for a smaller car too.
Right. Yeah.
The rear wheel steering, I agree. Even though it's still like, I mean, it does add complexity though. Like I hear people with there was a lot of problems with the rear wheel steering for off-roading with the Cybertruck, for example. Like it broke a lot. So for things that like I don't think Rivian would want to do that too much for their adventure vehicles, but you know, maybe they want to develop one that's actually like built around capabilities off-road. People also mentioned that the steer-by-wire could point to Rivian moving to 48-volt internal power architecture, which would
make sense.
Yeah, that would make sense. It would be nice. It would be automakers following through Tesla's path there and make this a new standard. We did report in the past that when Tesla introduced the Cybertruck with that, they also introduced a bunch of standardization papers to try to introduce that in the industry at the automaker OEMs level, but also tier 1, 2, 3 suppliers to try to adopt that, so that all the accessories, all the parts, all the work with that, because that's the problem with that. Like you can design one car like the Cybertruck with a different architecture, but then you have all the parts that would work with the Cybertruck and need to work with another vehicle for efficiency reason, for economies of scales and all that, and you don't have that. It's not ideal. So we need we need suppliers and we need other automakers to adopt it for this to make to be a widely adopted technology, which would have a lot of benefits for especially for reducing the wiring inside the vehicles, which if people don't know, there's miles and miles of wires inside a car. So if you can remove like 1 mile wire, like it's a big deal. It's weight that's removed and it's cost, obviously. All right, let's talk to our readers or listeners.
All right, Carl in San Diego, not sure if your Laguna Seca pass includes the paddock access, but assuming it does, that is the most interesting part of visiting the historics. Fun to see old cars up close and talk with owners and mechanics.
I think so. I think I can get to Acura is really Acura and Honda. So Acura and Honda obviously basically the same thing, and Honda is big into racing, obviously. So I think we're gonna have pretty good access around the track.
All right, Old Dojo Boras, who is our other podcaster, will be used. Old Dojo will be used to make edgy memes to be distributed on X by Grok.
Yeah.
And
on that, I want to say, like, I don't know if you've been following me on X. I've been hammering that in the last few days because it did hurt me quite a bit. Like it's kind of a confirmation that Elon just doesn't care at all about the environment anymore. Because I actually had an engineer do the math, and the estimate that for these 5 seconds like video AI slot video that Grok makes, which Elon has been promoting like crazy in the last week, like he's just like keep making these AI videos which are so shit too. Like they don't like what are you gonna do with a video of like you holding a beer, a picture of you holding a beer, and then you move for 5 seconds with the beer with the AI, and it's like, are you going to post that somewhere? And if you do, why? Like, it's so weird. And they did that math, and it's a kilowatt hour, about a kilowatt hour for these 5 seconds video.
Really?
Yeah, it's huge.
Jeez.
It's huge. And XAI is using methane generators at their Memphis facilities, which is extremely polluting. So
gas generators?
Yeah.
That's wild.
And it's a ton of power. Like we're talking about millions and millions of kilowatt hour here, gigawatt hour. Then, and you get this going for a few years, for a while, and I don't think it's going to get that popular. And so, like Elon is trying to make it popular, but I think there's value in image generation. Obviously, I think there's value in video generation, but the way it's being used right now is complete slop. Like no one wants to see this, and it's you're gonna undo all the benefits that Tesla did for the environment in just a few years of generating that shit. This just makes no sense to me.
All right, Joe continues. You mentioned Ford's platform reminds you of Ultium. Spot on. It's also like the VW Type 1 floor plan that was under the Beetle, Thing, Bus, Squareback, Notchback, and Carmen Ghia. Yeah, standardization is really something that helps scale and reduce prices. So glad to see that. Dan says it was hard to look at Farley making the presentation without hearing Elon's voice. He was laying out an identical strategy that Tesla made for its unboxing process.
Yeah, but it sounds like they're going to deliver it before this. I mean, Tesla has the Cybercab. That's now the only vehicle from Tesla that's based on the Unbox is the Cybercab, and that's supposed to come out next year. But it doesn't have a steering wheel, so if they haven't solved unsupervised self-driving by next year, there's just no point in releasing that. So we'll see. Maybe Ford can still beat Tesla to the Unbox style universal platform system.
All right, with BYD's new Yangwang 3,000 horsepower car, you might be able to make it from one tire shop to the next before your tread is worn smooth.
I mean, you remember you did the what did the Rivian calls the tank turn now? The
tank turn, yeah, or it's kick turn.
Kick turn. So kick turn. Yeah. You can do a kick turn with the Wangyang U9.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. And I would assume that it's a little bit lighter than a Rivian. So maybe you don't kill the tires as much. But yeah, I mean, you should do it. But they put videos of it like parking like that, like just like you go next to the parking instead of doing a parallel parking, you just go in there and then just it's nuts.
Yeah. Joe says, I really like the new Acura. It's making me really question if I need a 6 Volvo in a row. Volvo, who's in there?
Yeah, Joe Boras is called Joe Volvo Boras.
All right, love catching you boys live. Had Powerwalls go into service mode the other day, and app scheduled on its own for the next month. I don't know what it is. Sorry.
Powerwall go into service mode. I've never had that.
Yeah,
Have
me
you?
neither.
Yeah, I don't
Nope.
even know what that is. Let us know a short version. What's happening? I'd be curious.
All right, Carl says rear wheel steering, an expensive, over engineered, heavier solution to a problem we shouldn't have, massive vehicles. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
But
I
if
mean,
we do have massive vehicles, it's nice that they can turn into normal parking spots.
yeah, I was thinking about that a lot last night actually, because with the Honda and Acura executive, like there was a lot of talk about like, all right, you guys are only sell SUVs now. That's all there is. It's SUVs in North America and everything. It's like, have you any plans on changing that and all that? And y- it looks like people are giving up a little bit. Like it's like, yeah, that's what the consumer wants. That's what we'll do. It's like there's no trying to change people's mind. Really, it's really an interesting situation we're in. And the more I was thinking, I was like, all right, for an electric vehicle, like if we're taking, I'm not talking about the environment here. I'm talking from a consumer's perspective. Like people make mostly decision based on finances. Like if they don't want a big SUV because it's gas guzzling and it's going to cost you a lot at the pump. If it's electric and it's not going to cost you that much more, then you're like, I can get a bigger car and like get more use out of it because of that. Now I know there's a problem. The bigger problem is like people buying big cars they don't need. That's like, but if you have like you have two kids, set like you have to they snowboard and things like that. You have to bring on them and all their equipment from mountains to mountains. Like it makes sense to have an R1S for you. Like it's super useful. So I think like the electric aspect of it is like kind of fueling this big, like it's not going to slow down the adoption of bigger vehicles in North America, unfortunately. And you see it happening too in China and even in Europe. Like people are going bigger at a slower rate, obviously, than North America. But so I don't see how you change that right now, even though I love my smaller cars. Like smaller cars are so fun.
Yeah, I'm a big smaller car fan, and
Mm.
I see so many people driving huge vehicles by themselves.
Yeah.
And what do? You don't want to have a small car and a large car. That's defeating any kind of purpose.
Yeah.
I think people just have to realize that they can go without. Meanwhile, I have an R1S, so what am I saying?
Oh, it's just that here I'm seeing like these giant boats of Rolls Royce everywhere, and like one single person in the car driving the Rolls Royce, which like you could fit the 3 families in the back if you wanted to.
All right, new conspiracy theory. All the AI videos generated by data centers burning up that water are turning into water vapor in regions that don't usually have it, which is driving these 500-year floods. Probably
Yeah.
not.
You have to
All right.
put a lot of links together.
Yeah. Donald Parrish says FSD on my last drive, it saw a cat and it did a quick slow up when two dogs were going towards the street. It sees things better than I. That's the idea. Hopefully it can put it all together.
I've seen that happening for years, though. That's not new. I've seen my car's been slowing down for animals for a long time. Doesn't mean that it does it all the time, though. So if I were you and you see like pedestrians and animals around your car, like you should be ready to take control.
All right, short version continues from his Powerwall problem.
Yeah.
Open the app to Powerwall disabled, service required, low energy lockout, and they also scheduled to come out next month. No way to really inquire beforehand. Actually, you may want to check with your utility. Sometimes in the summertime, they lower the voltage down a little bit to save some electricity. So maybe they lowered your voltage. Have a look at that. Happened to me.
Yeah. I hope they're still under warranty.
Donald Parrish notes that cheaper small car prices might change minds. That or more expensive electricity and gas.
Yeah, that's right. So that's a good point, Seth, because with we talk about like everything is kind of converging together in this podcast. We talked about AI a lot. Like the biggest limitation for AI right now of this giant AI data center is the power. And so the power demand is increasing like crazy. And the Trump administration just slash a ton of incentive to deploy renewable energy, which has been the go-to the main new energy deployment in North America for a while now. So you create a situation now, or you just made new electricity deployment more expensive, while demand for electricity is shooting up like crazy. What do you think is going to happen? Like, electricity rates are going to be crazy in North America, which they're already pretty high compared to Canada, for example, which it's very similar environment, physically, other than policies. So yeah, we could see much more expensive electricity in the US, which unfortunately normally is bad for electric vehicles. But in this case, at least it could point people towards more efficient electric vehicles. It's so new, the electric vehicle market, now that people are not thinking about an electric vehicle is already, if you go from a gas car to an electric car, it's already so much more efficient that you're like, all right, you don't really think about the different efficiency of each electric car. Buyers are more looking at the range themselves rather than like range per kilowatt hour. But I think we're gonna see a lot more people looking like the same way that for a while, like, people would focus on the miles per gallon inside a car. We're gonna people focusing more on the MPGE, whatever. Like, we should have a better way to look at the efficiency of electric car. Well, the kilowatt hour per miles is good, but I mean, it's not used as a standard. People don't really talk about it other than us, like other than the EV nerds. At the dealership level, at the buyer's level, people are not talking about it so much. We should talk about it more.
Yeah.
In our reviews, in our when they launch a new car, when the EPA ratings comes out, we should focus on the miles per kilowatt hour. It should be a new policy that we implement at Electrek. I think that would make sense. All right, we did figure that out on the podcast. That's good. All right, well, that's it for us this week. I hope you enjoyed the podcast as much as we enjoy doing it for you guys. And we're going to see you same place, same time next week. I'm going to be back in Quebec, and I'm going to hopefully this week check out our YouTube channel, check out our social, and obviously the articles on Electrek. I'm going to have, hopefully I'm going to have a few things from the Pebble Beach this weekend. Hopefully a little bit more than the Quell, because the Quell was not super productive for me, unfortunately. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.